Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Alhamdulillah, al-wahid al-ahad, al-fard al-samad. Alladhi lam yalid wa lam yulad wa lam yakul lahu kufuwan ahad. Wa usalli wa usallim ala khatam al-anbiya'i wa mursaleen, Sayyidina Muhammad wa alihi wa sahbihi ajma'een. Wa ba'd. To my beloved brothers and sisters, I begin with the greeting words of the righteous. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. Alhamdulillah, we have the great pleasure and honor again to be with you in this journey to the hereafter. And this is a journey that is haqq. It is solid and it is the truth. And it has been predicted by all of the prophets and messengers who have come from the beginning of time. But the blessings of this ummah is that the last messenger Muhammad alayhi salatu wasalam was given.
Bam. Greet you in the words of Assalamu alaikum. This means peace and blessings be upon you. And I mention folks. Testing 1, 2, 3. 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 Mary had a little lamb.
Rahim. Alhamdulillah, al-wahid al-ahad, al-fard al-samad. Alladhi lam yalid wa lam yulad wa lam yakul lahu kufuwan ahad. Wa usalli wa usallim ala khatam al-anbiya'i wa mursaleen, Sayyidina Muhammad wa alihi wa sahbihi ajma'een. Wa ba'd. To my beloved brothers and sisters, I begin with the greeting words of the righteous. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. Alhamdulillah, we have the great pleasure and honor again to be with you in this journey to the hereafter. And this is a journey that is haqq. It is solid and it is the truth. And it has been predicted by all of the prophets and messengers who have come from the beginning of time. But the blessings of this ummah is that the last messenger Muhammad alayhi salatu wasalam was given details of the journey that no other human being.
Greet you in the words of Assalamu alaikum, which means peace and blessings be upon you. I bear witness there is no God but Allah, and that Muhammad, peace and blessings be upon him, is the last servant and slave messenger of God. And I want to say hi to the people in America, Central America, Canada, Asia, Europe, the Middle East, and Africa. And you're looking at the Underground Railroad. We come on every Saturday night at 10:30. And man, this is a historical show, you know. But I'm gonna let them introduce themselves. We're gonna be talking about the economy globally and locally. And I'm gonna let them introduce themselves. my co-host over here. I mean, he keeps me together on my right hand side, left hand, right hand side. But go ahead.
Well, we keep each other together.
I'm too late.
I'm happy to be here. I'm former ward committeeman and alderman of the 15th Ward, Vergil Jones, EO.
Okay.
My name is Reverend Dr. Webb Evans, the founder of the United American Progress Association, an organization to get black people involved in business and get more people spending the money in the black community.
Hello, I'm Dr. Warren, founder and CEO of Plim, that's the Power Laden Man. We have a show that's been on cable for over 20 years. It's a holistic ministry that deals with the physical realm, the psychological and spiritual, those things that are required in those realms that we need to be aware of, and where we are going now, and what's happening now, and where we're going to go, and what you must do now.
Please, sir, what time does the show come on? For people that don't know.
For those of you that haven't watched, we come on every Wednesday from 8:30 to 9:30 on Channel 36, reshown from 10:30 to 11:30 on Channel 36. That's Chicago Access Cable. You can attend free lectures at 1100 East 55th Street in room 208 at the Lutheran School of Theology. That's where we rent a room there. So feel free to come in and partake of the words of truth that we try to impart to you, and some of the hidden mysteries in the scriptures, and what you should be doing now as our powers to be will reset this system soon.
And you know what, thank you for accepting the invitation, both of you. And you know what, Mr. Webb Evans, you know what I would really like to know is, you know what, you've been in the community. This gentleman is 100 years old. You know, and it's a blessing to have both of y'all on the show, but you know, I'm just giving respect to my elders. But I want to ask you, why is it so important? You've been saying buy black, buy black, buy black for so many years, and what about the people that say, hey man, that may sound kind of racist. What would you? Why is it so important? I guess I'm gonna ask you two questions.
Why is it necessary for us to buy black?
Yes.
Because that's the only way we're going to get anywhere. It's more than a black person going in business, but he's not going to stay in business unless we spend our money with him. Other people are not spending their money with us. The only way black business survive is from people spending their money with black-owned businesses. And the unfortunate thing, most black people spend their money with people who do not live in the black community. People are draining our neighborhood every day, and they ain't bringing nothing back. But when you spend your money with a black-owned business, that money got a chance to circulate and help others. And any community where the money circulate, then that neighborhood prosper, and the one where all the money leave, that one goes into poverty.
We were talking earlier before the show came on. We were talking about Dr. King, and we also talked about Mayor Harold Washington, where he said, because I'm pro-black, don't mean that I'm anti-white. And I'm pro-black.
I'm pro-black.
And I want to ask you a question. You talked with Dr. King before he was killed. What was Dr. King's next move?
Well, there was one phase of Dr. King's struggle that we should be in right now, today. It was never Dr. King's intention, and he told me to spend all of his life in the civil rights marches, that he was going to change the struggle for civil rights to a struggle for economic and political empowerment. And when somebody learned that, they got rid of it.
Oh, Dr. Lee Warren, you know what? When you hear the term "buy black," buy black, as a global community, how does this affect us? I'm talking about like if we go outside of our community and start buying things. Should it even matter? I'm asking.
Well, first of all, we're in a global economy. Things have changed radically since the 60s and 70s. You know, the country has opened themselves to all types of goods. You can look here just in the streets, and you see more foreign cars than you see from General Motors and Ford. There are a lot of Asian cars, you know, from Asia mainly. You know, you got your German, your BMW from Europe, but I mean, you got a host. You got Toyota's the #1 producer of cars. My point is that we've never got off of ground one. Let me say this. First of all, most communities that you have, like you said, if I ask you what was the community that has the largest savings in Chicago, you couldn't name it. And it's the Vietnamese and Asians. Now you go up north on Lawrence Avenue out there, you got all those stores in there, and you come south or west, you live in a dead zone. We don't own those businesses, and we have no businesses. So that means that you don't have main thing. Not only do you have money, you don't have employment for basically a lot of your youth that normally you could take 10 or 20% of those people off the street and have it into some type of, work ethics that they can learn to, operate a business and et cetera. So everything is so changed since then. When you say by a black, it's almost impossible now because our infrastructure, when I mean infrastructure,
yes.
the gasoline station that were once owned by blacks, they're gone. The food stores that we used to have and fast food, they're all gone. They're owned by a whole nother set of people.
Yes.
That for whatever reason, we got away from that. What will have to happen for that to come back, I'm going to tell you what's going to happen. People only change when there's pain. And the pain that's coming, that's trauma that's coming, is when the economy is collapsing. The world economy is totally collapsing, and all the power is in the East. The money, the gold, is all went to the East. And they have decided they're going to set up a new system that's going to be separate from the West, what we call the white man or European system. They're already fighting over that. And how we, or what we should be doing now, is not only working now as far as setting up these little businesses, but you're going to have to be able to do import-export businesses. That's a whole nother level. Taking things from China, bringing them in from all over the world, bringing them back here, because this is the big, America's a great bazaar. In other words, if you're going to make a car, if you're going to make anything in the world, you got to sell it in America if you want to make any money.
Yes.
So that's where we are. And I don't think we've even got to that level of openness to say, listen, this is a whole brand new game now. I mean, we don't open in other words, the American system, economics has been opened up to everybody can bring anything into this country and sell it. So that means in order for you to play the game, you got to be able to import, export business. You got to be able to know something about wholesale retailing. It's a whole lot of things that we're gonna have to do that that didn't exist back in the 1960s. Because most of the cars in the 1960s were all General Motors.
And Webb, it was you like you pondering, like you want to.
I wanted to ask Mr. Webb something.
We're allowing people to sell to us that we're not selling to them. And of course, our whole country is in somewhat problem on that we're buying more foreign goods than we are goods that are made in America. That's exactly. I don't think there's any place that we should shop at more than we shop with people who live where we live. And I don't complain if the Jews spend most of our money with Jews, the Chinese spend most of their China, but I just think where we live, we should spend most of our money with the people who live where we live, and all that money can circulate in our neighborhood, can create those jobs. That's what you're talking about. The money, where you spend your money is where the jobs are created. So if we're spending our money with other people, then other people getting the jobs with our money. So we should spend our money in the neighborhood where the business people live, where we live, and then everybody benefits in our neighborhood. Where our money goes, they profit from it, and we fall deeper into poverty.
I want to ask you a question. The question is, because you've met these individuals, Bishop Luke out of Meridian, Mississippi. Would you tell us a little about what he did?
I spent a week with Bishop Luke Edwards. His headquarters in Meridian, Mississippi, but most of their possessions is in Alabama. And what I wanted to know from him, I spent a week with him. How is it that you had a church with 96% of your people on welfare, and today nobody's on welfare? I said, what is the difference about you and other black ministers? He said, well, I'll tell you the difference. He said, the sheep take care of the shepherd, and the shepherd teach the sheep how to take care of themselves. He said, now, the sheep take care of me, but I teach my members how to take care of themselves. So as a result of teaching them how to take care of themselves, nobody's unemployed. We got factories, we got business, and we're creating our own jobs. And that's the same thing I'm saying about the blacks where we're living. If we spent our money among one another, we wouldn't have to worry about trying to make other people give us a job. We ain't got no business trying to protest. What we do, spend all our money with somebody else and then come back and get together. So we spend our money with them, let's make them give us a job. Spend your money with your own people and then you'll have the job.
I remember.
Doesn't that be simple?
I remember years ago, the Jews weren't allowed to go in the Conrad Hilton Hotel.
That's right.
So you know what they did?
They bought it.
They put their money together and they went and bought it. They didn't march nowhere.
That's the whole point.
They didn't protest. They didn't do it. They just put all their money together and went and bought the whole
That's it.
chain.
That's what we should do.
They weren't allowed to go on Miami Beach. It was a private beach.
That's right.
They put their money together
That's what
and
we
went
should
and
do.
bought the whole beach and said, now, we're going to let everybody use the beach.
Mm.
And until we, Mr. Evans, I agree with you, start learning how to do that
That's
in
it.
our communities,
There's the solution.
then we're never going to have that problem solved.
You're right.
And once we do that, I was talking with some ministers the other day, and I told them, you know, if all of you all sitting here talking this stuff y'all talking, if you all each, 100 of you all, put $5 every day together, I said, in 1 year, just 100 of you all would have enough money to start opening up any business you want.
Sure, that's where it is.
And you could hire your own people rather than talking about we don't have no jobs.
Mm.
We could create. That's the big challenge to blacks today. Get away from looking for a job. There are certain jobs we're entitled to. For the city, in the county, in the states, and the federal government, we're entitled to some jobs in those fields. But other than that, if we start putting our money together and spending our money with the people who live where we live, we'd give a job to every black person who's unemployed.
But you know what I'd like to ask both of y'all? There's some people that are viewing this program right now and say this sounds like black supremacy. Black people, you know, just talking about doing for themselves. I mean, what would be your response? It sounds prejudiced, so prejudiced, blacks buy for black. What would both of y'all say about that to individuals that are watching this show and saying this?
Well, they don't have that in Chinatown.
Well,
They don't have that. They don't have that on the northwest side where they have all the Eastern Europeans.
Well, like you said, it's a total lack of understanding and sheer ignorance. Because if you go to these various neighborhoods, you got your Polish neighborhood. You know, Chicago is really it's not racially segregated. It's ethnic segregated.
Mm-hmm.
That's the best way to say it.
Yes, sir.
People say, well, it's all racial. I said, what do you mean? You got your Polish neighborhood.
They live
you
with
get your
Polish
they live
folks.
in Polish style. You got your Chinese. You got your Eastern Europeans. You got your Asians. You got your Asians and various Asians, Japanese and Chinese. Don't get up. You got your Vietnamese are moving up there. So they all got their little niche.
Yes, sir.
So everybody can have a niche, even though we should have our niche. But it's a lack of understanding. It's a total lack of understanding where we have never developed an entrepreneur. I shouldn't say we've never. We had the entrepreneur. Let me say this. First of all, when you start talking about establishing businesses, we have to go back and have an understanding of what happened in the 20s and 30s. The reason a lot of business got really going, we really got going up north, especially in Chicago.
Yes, sir.
One of the main sources, in other words, to start a business, it's capital. This is capitalism. This is not communism. This is not socialism. It means capital. I mean, you know what? You got to have capital. And capitalism has three. It has capital, it has labor, and you got to have resources. Now, basically, what happened was we came up south. We didn't have nothing, basically, because we didn't start working for Mr. Charlie, the $4, other stuff. But there was a racket that got started. And that racket was what? Policy. And see, when the policy got started, what they did, they didn't blow their money chasing whores.
They loaned money.
That's exactly. They went into the banking business, and they started loaning business and setting up business. Today, they would call it laundering money.
Yes, sir.
See, and they would set up various businesses that got established by them loaning money to certain these businesses. These businesses got up and running. And that ran for a little while until they threw the dope in as a result of Vietnam. But
yes, sir.
That's how. So what you have to say, how do we get this capital that we need to establish, and what do we need to do that's going to be a little bit different from the 30s to get ourselves together to compete? Because it's not the same world. Now we can duplicate some of those things, but it's a whole different world. We got computers, we got smartphones, you got a whole lot of stuff that you didn't have back then.
Yes, sir.
So it requires for us to start moving, and I think the only way it's going to be moving when vast portions of the blacks, especially educated, get laid off. You get 50 or 60% blacks laid off, and they can't get no job. The first thing they got to find out, the only way they can get some money is come back in their neighborhood. They got to start some type of business in their hood in order to get started.
Yes.
No race can solve their problem without some business.
No country can either.
No, that's it. You've got to have some business. And black people are having enough money. People say Jews have things because they have money. No, Jews have money because they organize the business.
from the examples I used.
Well,
they put their money together.
They put their money together and operate business. I don't know of any group of people more than the Jewish people on a world base that spend that money and let that money circulate among them. And I don't have any complaint whether the Italian, whether the Jew, whatnot, are spending that money with their people first. And all Jews, they don't like all Jews. All Chinamen don't like all Chinamen. How many of them you see spending that money in the black neighborhood? Well, with us, we fall out with you. We want to fall out with all black businesses. We've got to learn to circulate this dollar among us, the people who live. Now, if all of these people, like Italians and Jews and everybody, we were all living in a community, I'd say the same thing. Spend your money with the people who live where you live.
Go ahead, Alderman.
That makes sense to me.
Yes.
Well, I agree with you 100%.
And I think I told y'all, it was never Dr. King's life to spend all his life in those civil rights marches. He was going to change it to a struggle for economic and political empowerment.
That was his next speech.
That was his next move.
The next week before they killed him.
They got rid of him when they learned that. And that's where it is. That dollar got to circulate in a neighborhood. If you get hold of something, you got a chance to spend it with me, and I can spend it with him, and he can spend it with him. I say, well, you got 1, 2, 3, 4, got four people done benefited from it. But if you spend it somewhere else, you got a little benefit out of it. That's right. And somebody else's neighborhood benefited.
You know, my father told me he used to have a snowball business, and he would make his snowball larger than the Hispanic down the streets, but they would still spend money with the Hispanic, even though he made larger snowballs and his price was lower. So I understand what you're saying. I understand what you're saying.
One of the things that,
Excuse me.
that you know, I'm Moorish American.
Yes.
With Noble Drew Ali, and Noble Drew Ali said, we've got to start thinking, why would someone teach you to take care of yourself? To help yourself.
You gotta teach yourself.
When he can make all the money that you got from you without teaching you nothing except how to work for him.
You see, that's come from slave mentality. You'd be surprised how much slave mentality even we have in our churches, that we were taught from the beginning when Abraham signed the Emancipation Proclamation, and most black people don't know about the black code. They weren't free. They weren't allowed to have anything but the church, and the average black ministers don't even know it. In our history, there was a time when black people weren't allowed to have anything but a church. We were not allowed to sell anything.
You're talking about the black codes of 1724.
That's it.
And
you weren't allowed to sell anything.
There's a book that those in the audience, they can read called The Coal-Black Preach by William H. DeCoy.
Yeah.
And he said that they had to prove themselves in order to be given a license to preach. They couldn't even preach on the planet. All right. And once they did that, all right, proved themselves, and they proved themselves by just misleading and misdirecting folks, telling who was going to run away, who was stealing the food out of the kitchen, all right? That was proving themselves.
Yeah. Excuse me. You know what? We have 3 minutes left, and you know what? There may have been something. I'm going to leave us with some closing statements, please, because there may have been something that we didn't ask that feel is vital that people know. So whoever wants to start, you can start.
I would say that our first start with black people, getting off the economic bottom, is starting letting your dollar circulate among you. Think in terms of your benefit before thinking of others, and we're benefiting other people more than we're benefiting ourselves with our dollar, and we got to put a stop to that.
Okay, where you located at? Where your general meetings take place?
Our meetings held at 1716 West on 79th Street, and that's every 4th Monday. And we would invite all of you to come and meet with us, and you can learn about our pledge. We're saying, and all these other people are spending most of that money with that people. We're saying, let us do the same thing. And I talk black all the time, but I don't have a hate bone in me.
Yes, sir. And Professor, Doctor, you have any finishing comments or something?
Well, I think that to add to that, we're in a totally different age, and like I said, there's going to be some great changes made. The changes are coming. You don't have to worry about them starting some business. They will start something. I don't care if they have to have the ice cream or selling a garage sale outside the house. When they find out there's no jobs here completely in America, that's going to change a whole lot. And I'm talking about amongst the professional people. Now, we had 54 schools that closed. 54 or 49. That's 49 principals gone.
Yes.
49 vice presidents. We ain't talking about teachers. So what are those people going to do?
Yes.
What are they going to do?
Over 3,000 people out
When
of
does
the
your
job.
show come on? We got a minute left. Your show.
Our show, Plim Show, comes on every Wednesday from 8:30 to 9:30 on Channel 36. It's reshown Thursday morning from 10:30 to 11:30 on Channel 36. And you can contact us at Plim. That's 773-509-8124 for information. That's 773-509-8124 for any information concerning things that we have, other than programs that we have available for you.
And like the aldermen always say, they be saying it on the streets. You could just Google us up and see everybody on YouTube after the show, And we come on 7 days a week, 24 hours a day. And these gentlemen, they have YouTube websites too. So, put their names in. And Assalamu alaikum. Thank y'all for
I want to thank you for inviting me.
Again,
It's
I
a
wanna thank you,
pleasure. I consider it an honor.
Or a beautiful ta'weez or tamima, amulet, to hang on the neck. But to look at this as the final revelation, as the road map along the dark journey, and as the true light and signal post that we need to save ourselves in this life and the next. We have understood from the many gatherings that we have been blessed to have that our ummah today is large in number. It has great military strength. It has powerful political leaders. It has some of the richest people on earth. But at the same time, we are struck with calamity. We are struck with injustice, humiliation. This should not be for a powerful nation. And so the beautiful body of Islam has something missing on the inside. And it is that struggle for the internal Muslim. What is it that motivates us? What is it that can give us that feeling to overcome the tests and temptations of this life? And we have learned from our messenger, peace be upon him, that the knowledge of the hereafter is critical knowledge. And that this knowledge, if given the right position within our mind and our life, can be a source not only of blessings in the next life, but it can be a source of personal improvement, of family improvement, community, nation, and ultimately the whole world. If people really knew what was ahead of them, what was on this path, then they would not spend so much time fighting over trivia.